With the current state of the CPU market, AMD Ryzen CPUs are either being sold well above MSRP and or popular models are becoming quite difficult to find, which is something I wanted to talk to you guys about in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on guys? Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. This video isn't going to be a hardware news video or any sort of benchmarking analysis video. It's just going to be me expressing how I feel about the current situation surrounding the CPU market, and in particular how badly AMD Ryzen CPUs have been affected. You see, with the current situation, it's hard to be excited or be enthusiastic about CPUs just because of two big reasons. The first is that with everything currently going on in the world, supply has just been awful, where retailers are struggling to keep up with crazy high demand. The second is that even if the CPUs are in stock, they're being sold at marked up prices well above MSRP. And I'm not talking about third-party marketplace sellers on Newegg or Amazon, or someone random on your used marketplace websites, but first-party retailers. Though the reason why this trend continues is because, despite the marked up prices, the CPUs will still sell out within seconds, and that's especially true for the 5000 series. Speaking of, it's actually kind of funny because I got my Ryzen 9 5900X back in like mid-November, and I remember being quite eager ensuring I got one. I went as far as to even line up in the morning at my local hardware store to ensure I'd be on top of their backorder list. I'd be discussing with others about their order statuses on the BAPC Sales Canada subreddit, just waiting anxiously. But guess what? After all that, it's still sitting sealed in its box due to a combination of things. Apart from life just getting in the way and me focusing on other topics, I just haven't found the time to start doing CPU testing yet. Generally, CPU testing is more time consuming than GPU benchmarking, but besides that, I haven't really been feeling all that enthusiastic about hardware lately. And this can be applied to other market segments in the industry as well, such as GPUs of course. When companies like AMD and Nvidia were set to make their announcements and had showcased all this new hardware, I was initially very excited. I was very excited for the 5000 series as AMD had gained market leadership in all categories of computing. Their CPUs finally looked like they had an edge on Intel when it came to gaming, something they haven't had in many years. And so when I had gotten my Ryzen 9 5900X, I was like, alright, I'm going to do a whole bunch of tests and benchmarks, this is going to be great. But then I see the current state of the market and, I just stopped caring. This was and is especially true for the AMD Radeon RX 6000 series as well. After that huge blunder by RTG where they said they'd have more stock than Nvidia and mocked their competitor for struggling, then pulled off an even crappier launch, it just left a horrible impression for everyone. On top of that, I was thinking that, hey, AMD finally has some competitive high-end GPUs. I can't wait to get my hands on one, test it out, and showcase it against my RTX 3080, but then it became impossible to buy one, where many of the biggest retailers don't even have them listed anymore, and places like Canada Computers or Memory Express, who are the largest component retailers here in Canada, were literally turning people away. That's right, even if you wanted to buy one, even if you wanted to give them your money, they weren't even letting you put down money for a back order because they themselves had no idea if they were getting any stock. The only place where you could possibly hope to get a 6800 XT was directly from AMD, and even that was almost impossible as the GPUs would be sold out in a matter of picoseconds. At least with Nvidia, sure, the supply was also bad, but at least their AIB models would be going in and out of stock from various retailers, and the fact that you had multiple AIB cards to rely on improved your chances that much more. So at that point, I was like, you know what, alright, screw it. If Nvidia cards are the only GPUs I can get my hands on, then so be it. I'll continue to only keep making videos surrounding those GPUs because that's all I can do at this point. And I don't care enough to sit on a webpage for hours refreshing or setting up alerts and bots. Now, I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but a lot of what I said there does apply to the CPU market, and this does greatly impact reviews, the opinions of reviewers, and what their conclusions might be based on. Since we're on that subject, what are some of the main reasons why independent media review outlets review hardware? There's plenty of reasons, but some of the main ones are that reviewers validate the claims of the manufacturer, test out its performance through various scenarios, compare it against other products from other manufacturers in the same segment or in the tiers below or above it, compare it against previous generations, which ends up educating the consumer on its capabilities so that they can make informed buying decisions and also decide whether that piece of hardware is really worth buying at MSRP. Is the price of the RTX 3080 justified at $699, or is the Ryzen 9 5900X worth it at $549? Those are some of the reasons why we look at reviews, but when the market is so messed up that now you have reviews out there that are based on what the manufacturer said it should sell at, but then in actuality retailers are selling it marked up X amount of dollars, which then the consumer has to deal with, it creates some issues. Like in my RTX 3060 Ti review, I like the card. It's actually my favorite GPU out of the RTX 30 series that have been released so far. The performance was there, but when it actually came to recommending the GPU, it was tough, and I couldn't give a definite yes or no answer because pricing was just all over the place. If you could find an RTX 3060 near MSRP or, marked up a little bit because of an AIB model, $10, $20, $30, then you know what, it was a pretty good deal. But then when you had people telling me that this 3060 Ti was $100 more expensive, or it was just $20 shy of an RTX 3070, then you know what, it doesn't get my recommendation. Pricing is a huge influence on whether or not I'll recommend a product, because most of the time there aren't necessarily bad products, just bad prices. Like take the Ryzen 3000 refresh for example. I would have been okay with recommending the CPUs had AMD realized that it's a refresh line and that should be sold at appropriate prices in line with the current circumstances, but then they decide to sell the processors at MSRPs that are comparable to when the Ryzen 3000 CPUs originally had come out, which made no sense because then you could get a 3900X for about the same as a 3800 XT, or a Ryzen 5 3600 was much cheaper than a 3600 XT, yet delivered like 99% of its performance, so it made no sense to buy. So I wrote them off as pointless, which is funny because my test bench currently is fitted with a 3800 XT, but I was able to find that CPU on a good deal, one that was around the same price as the 3700X, which then made it a no-brainer, but that is something AMD should have realized. Now, focusing on the here and now, for Ryzen 5000 series CPUs, it's quite challenging to get your hands on one of these processors, especially the higher end Ryzen 9 SKUs, as they're typically a bit harder to manufacture due to using more chiplets. In the US, it still seems like supply isn't as terrible. Of course, it's bad, but it isn't as terrible as it is up here in Canada. And at least most of the major retailers there seem to still be willing to sell the CPUs at or close to MSRP. However, here in Canada, not only is supply terrible, but the CPUs are marked up ridiculously high. The Ryzen 5 5600X at Newegg Canada is being sold for 450 Canadian dollars. That's not including shipping or taxes. When converted to USD, that's about $353 at the time of making this video. So that's already about $50 more expensive than MSRP, and arguably the Ryzen 5 5600X was already considered a bit overpriced to begin with. But to emphasize on why these prices just annoy me even more is that near the end of 2019, I was able to purchase a Ryzen 5 3600 for 240 Canadian dollars after taxes all in. So for the 5600X, we're already looking at roughly a $200 increase, which is insane for a 6-core CPU. I don't care if it's based on Zen 3, has higher single-core performance, and, can beat Intel in gaming. If you ask me, I wouldn't recommend the 5600 at that price. If it's, $200 premium, I'd say get the 3600. Which then brings me to my next topic, because there's been such a horrible shortage of Ryzen 5000 series CPUs and extreme markups. A lot of people probably thought, you know what, Zen 2 Ryzen 3000 is still great, can still deliver a great experience for gaming. I'm just going to get myself one of those CPUs. And I'm sure a significant amount of people probably thought of that, because now you can't even buy these popular Ryzen 3000 SKUs. Popular SKUs like the 3600, 3700X aren't even in stock anymore from major retailers. When they do come in stock, they're marked up significantly higher than where they usually sell. It's not nearly as bad as what's going on with the 5000 series, but it's a considerable jump and they'll sell out within seconds. But you guys want to know the most intriguing thing about all this? The CPUs still sell out. One of the subreddits I'm following is the Canadian Hardware Sales subreddit, where people post deals on computer components. Recently, I've seen a few posts for the Ryzen 5 3600 from retailers like Amazon, and the prices would be around $280. Remember, I got mine for $240 after taxes, but you can tell by the amount of upvotes on the post that people are still willing to buy these CPUs despite the increased costs. For that matter, people are still willing to buy the extremely marked up Ryzen 5000 series CPUs as well. It doesn't matter. A 5600X will get posted for $450, sold out within seconds. A 5900X gets posted for $800, sold out within seconds. And even a 5800X, which gets posted for $650, which, I think is absurd for an 8-core CPU. Doesn't matter, sold out within seconds. There's such a high demand, and at the end of the day, people are willing to pay the premium for the CPUs just so they can get their hands on it, which I guess is why scalpers are so active, because they feed off of this urgency and this eager behavior, which then, also leaves me in this conflicted state, because I'll see people commenting saying that, yeah, the hardware is too expensive, and, I'll never buy this processor at this much, or I'll never buy this GPU that's being sold for X amount of dollars. But then I see it get sold out anyway, so I guess people are then okay with these high prices. If you think about it, this is also really scary, because manufacturers will see this and their eyes will just glow with money bag symbols. You know how you'd see it in cartoons, right? Because clearly the demand is so high and people are willing to pay these prices that it's given them that go ahead to increase prices further for future generation products. So don't be surprised to see Intel come out or AMD come out with a new series of CPUs in the future, which at first may seem like absurdly high prices, but they know at the end of the day, people are still willing to buy them. So as a business, why wouldn't you take advantage of that? I don't know, the whole situation just boggles my mind, honestly. And I was thinking that, when I review my 5900X in the future, should I even talk about value? Does pricing even matter at this point? This probably also has a lot to do with the current global health crisis too. Countries are experiencing their second or third waves, going into another lockdown. People have spent more time at home this year than ever, whether it's for a home office or, recreational use like gaming. People are spending more money on computers, desktops, laptops. The demand has been high. That stimulates these high prices. So it's just something that you have to deal with at this point. I guess it's just the nature of the beast. This was just, a rambling or rant I just wanted to get out there. So hey, if you stuck around to listen to me, I appreciate it. I hope you guys found this video to be informative and helpful. Let me know your thoughts down below. Check out the video description on ways to support the channel and for my other videos. If you guys are interested in more content like this, then make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one.